their mood of seeing Krishna as Putra Bhavena and Brahma Bhavena, where Putra Bhavena is, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, is the main emotion, that he's our son. That's the main thing. But at the same time, the secondary emotion is he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So where is the question of they attaining perfection through some sadhana? So there Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually explains that here Krishna is making the point that I am going to go away. I am going to be in Gokul, and then Vrindavan for all these years. But you constantly remember me as my son, as your son, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then after some time, we will again meet. You will come back to me in the sense that we will actually meet again. So that is basically referring to today's verse where Devaki and Vasudeva finally, after those 11 years where Krishna was away, they actually meet again, right? So if you see Vasudeva and Devaki, so like, in contrast to Mother Yashoda's mood, where it is only Putra Bhavena, there is no Brahma Bhavena. She just considers, oh, Krishna is my son, and even when Krishna actually showed the entire the universes in his mouth after eating the dirt, right? Krishna ate the dirt, and all the boys were complaining. And Balram also said, "Oh, he has eaten dirt." Even after that, when Mother Yashoda said, "Okay, if you have eaten dirt, open your mouth," and when Krishna opened his mouth, then she saw all these universes and all the universes in the mouth of Krishna, and then she saw herself also with Krishna in the mouth of Krishna, and she was thinking like, "Who is this personality? Who is this personality?" And then she said, "Oh, whatever it is, maybe I just had some illusion, but this boy is just my son, and I have the right to chastise him." So that the mood of Mother Yashoda is just based on Putra Bhavena. But here we see Vasudeva and Devaki have this mood of Putra and Brahma Bhavena, that they see him as a Supreme Personality, and they also see him as his son. So in these two emotions of seeing Krishna as a Supreme Person and as a son, there is always a swing where sometimes they see Krishna as a Supreme Person and sometimes they see Krishna more as their son, right? So now the emotion was actually when they saw Krishna kill Kamsa, and seeing that opulence and thinking about like how Krishna actually appeared in the four-handed form, they were thinking that, oh, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that mood of opulence covered their Putra Bhavena, that he's actually our son. And then Krishna is thinking, Ma Bhut Iti, I don't want this. Why does Krishna not want this? So in that, if you see, like all the devotees of Krishna, they have different unique rasas with Krishna. So the rasa of Mother Yashoda is that of exclusive Putra Bhavena, that exclusive. He's my son, nothing else. But the position of Vasudeva is mixed, right? Is the son, but at the same time recognition of the Supreme Person. So all of them are perfect in their rasas. But even within the rasa of Vasudeva and Devaki with Krishna, that is the mood where Krishna wants to churn the rasa or invoke more exchanges or more emotions or more bhav in that rasa. So Krishna is thinking that if they are just recognizing me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead and not seeing me as their son, then how will I actually exchange that intimate mood of ecstasy with them, right? So hence Krishna is saying, Ma Bhut Iti, I don't want this, like this should not be, right? So in the purport it says, rather the Lord wanted to enjoy with them the ecstatic love of Vatsalya Rasa. He wanted to exchange that Vatsalya Rasa with his parents, and hence he actually covered them with his own Yoga Maya potency. Okay. So now, after explaining this mood of Vasudeva and Devaki with this mood of Putra and Brahma Bhavena, these both points, then we actually can consider. Okay, maybe there's one statement I actually read. It's been some time, but it always stuck with me, and maybe I'll refer to this one sentence about the mood of Krishna. So the sentence actually comes from Shivaram Swami Maharaj. He explains that in divine love, in this, we know our perfection of life is Krishna Prema. Prema Pumartha Mahan. In that garden of divine love, Krishna is both the gardener and he is also the bee. And I really like this. Krishna is both the gardener and also he is the bee. So what does this mean? Krishna is both the gardener and the bee. In the sense that Krishna is the gardener. So what is the function of the gardener? He's going and he's nourishing all the different trees, the different plants, and he's actually, maybe putting fertilizer, he's actually nourishing them. And at the same time, Krishna is the bee. What does that mean? Krishna actually goes and he actually tastes the flower of each one of the, tastes the nectar of the flower of each one of the individual living beings. So if we actually see the mood of Krishna, Krishna is acting in such a way that he wants to invoke our deepest mood of love for him, But at the same time, it is he only who actually nourishes that mood of love to him, right? So he's doing both the task of nourishing that love, nourishing that prema in the heart. At the same time, he's doing the task of tasting that prema in the heart, right? And if you see this mood of Krishna, so how does Krishna actually nourish the love in the core of the heart, right? So it is always, he does it through his different potencies. And here, one of the potencies that's mentioned is Nija Mayam, right? Mayam referring to the illusory potency. So we know there are the Yoga Maya potency and the Mahamaya potency. So the potency that bewilders the devotees is actually said to be the Yoga Maya potency. And the potency that actually bewilders conditioned living entities, that is said to be Mahamaya. So both of them are actually potencies of Krishna. And if you see the function of both of them function to increase the prema in the heart of the sadhaka. So that Krishna can really, like the bee, go and taste newer and newer flavors in the flower, in each and every flower, right? So when we see in the Yoga Maya potency, right? So here Krishna is covering them by his Yoga Maya potency. So the function of Yoga Maya is to enhance that love, right? So here he's actually wanting that love from Vasudeva and Devaki, and hence he's actually covering them with his potency. And Prabhupada, in one of the purports, he explains the difference between the Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. And he says, so Prabhupada is saying, this is verse number, but he says, the potency of the Lord known as Vishnu Maya, who is as good as the personality of Godhead, will also appear with Lord Krishna. This potency, acting in different capacity, captivates all the worlds, both material and spiritual. So this is actually in the section when the demigods, in the starting of the 10th canto, when all the demigods, along with Brahma, they go to the ocean of the Shira ocean, and they actually pray, stand the Purusha Shukta prayers, and say, oh Krishna, unless you actually come down, how can we reduce the burden of sin on the earth, right? And at the time, Krishna actually speaks to Brahma, and Brahma reveals this to all the demigods. And then Brahma is actually saying that the potency of Lord known as Vishnu Maya, which is actually both the Yoga Maya and Mahamaya, who is as good as the personality of Godhead, will also appear with Lord Krishna. This potency, acting in different capacity, captivates all the worlds, both material and spiritual. So we know Yoga Maya, how it actually covers the intimate associates or the devotees of Krishna in such a way that they actually, can relish more rasa. Now, how does Mahamaya act? If you see the potency of Mahamaya, it is the same Maya potency, which is actually befriending living entities. But if you see how Mahamaya acts, so Mahamaya has these two aspects, right? One is the covering potency, and one is the throwing potency. So let's just analyze this. So when we see the Mahamaya, what is the covering potency of Mahamaya? So the covering potency of Mahamaya acts in such a way that living entities in this material world, we, one way it is so obvious that we are all going to die. That is also the circle of birth, and that everything is so obvious. But still, that potency, Mahamaya, covers us in such a way that we think, no, we live for forever. And even though we have experienced that suffering again and again in this material world, we say, no, we'll be happy, right? So that hope of happiness, that hope of like living forever, that is the covering potency of Mahamaya. And then the throwing potency. What is the throwing potency? That as soon as one takes up to Krishna consciousness, one takes up bhakti, what does Maya do? It actually tests the sadhana at different points of his spiritual journey. And why is Mahamaya doing this? So that we can actually become more and more committed in our devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even if you see the functioning of Mahamaya, one way even she is acting, she's a devotee of Krishna, she's the Yogamaya potency, acting on conditioned jiva. She's also acting in such a way that apparently it may seem that she's taking people away from Krishna, but even through both these potencies, she's finally trying to bring Krishna, devotees to Krishna, and bring out the prema in the core of their heart. Like though she's covering the living entities, and then the living entity thinks, oh yes, I am the enjoyer, and then he tries to enjoy, and then he fails, and then realize like, oh, why am I trying this again and again? And finally bringing him to a point that realizing, oh, there has to be something beyond this world. There has to be a spiritual reality. How can I connect with it? And then if you consider the throwing potency which acts on devotees, that mood is, okay, we are taking up a sadhana, but then we are allured with our past habits or past conditionings again and again, like the previous habits caught up. And then after the habit pulls us down, then we say, oh, Krishna, I will not this again, never again. And in that we actually come to a point where we say, okay, Krishna, only you, only you, only you. Repeatedly, again and again, we take shelter of Krishna. And by that, repeatedly taking shelter of Krishna, we are actually deepening that emotion in the core of our heart. So both the potencies are one way, like trying to bring out that prema in the core of our heart, deepening that prema in the core of our heart. So, that is how the potencies of Lord Krishna acts, both in terms of Yogamaya and Mahamaya. In one of the lecture, Prabhupada makes this point. He says that we are under the influence of Mahamaya, but as we progress in our spiritual journey, as we are actually engaging in activities of devotional service, we will be moved from the shelter of Mahamaya to the shelter of Yogamaya. So it is either one of the potencies. We are always under the potencies of Krishna, but it just, we have a choice to select which potency we want to be under, Mahamaya or the Yogamaya potency. Right? So, so that is the point about how the Lord, through his potencies, is actually bringing out the emotion. And here with Vasudeva and Devaki, he's bewildering them in such a way that he can actually experience that deep mood of love. Also in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually making the point that the word Janaha refers to Yogamaya bewildering devotees, but Janaha also refers to Janayati, to generate or to give birth. And so hence that Jana Mohini is actually explained that Lord expanded or gave birth in one way to his internal illusory potency, so that Vasudeva and Devaki would actually love him as their dear child again. Okay. So, so having made this point that how Lord Krishna, however he acts, finally he's trying to bring us closer to him. Like in one of the purports in the first canto, second chapter of Bhagavatam, we see this point. The Prabhupada explains so nicely. He actually says, Krishna is so eager to take us back to home, back to Godhead. More eager than even we can desire. Like, and Prabhupada explains that most of the living entities do not even desire to go back home, back to Godhead. But of those who desire, Krishna's desire is so much more eager to take us home back to Godhead. And in that purport, Prabhupada says, the Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that the devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord and has thus become eager to hear about him, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back to his kingdom, into his kingdom, than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. So Prabhupada is actually making the point that if we are sincere in our path of devotion, and how is that sincerity actually shown? And Prabhupada says that sincerity is actually shown by our eagerness to hear about Krishna. The more we are eager to hear about Krishna, that shows how much sincere we are to go back to Krishna. And if we are really sincere, or if we are growing in our sincerity, then what Prabhupada says, if we are developing that eagerness to hear about Krishna more and more, then Krishna will help us from within. And then he says, if Krishna helps us, then the path becomes as easy as anything. As easy as anything, right? So we have to like develop that eagerness to hear about Krishna. And finally, it comes to that point. So, and there are so many points here. But the point I was, going back to the point that how Krishna's potencies acts upon us in such a way that the deeper emotion, that love for Krishna is somehow awakened in the core of our heart. In relationship to that, in one of the purports of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada actually makes this point that Krishna, I'll just read this point. But the Lord is not like a shopkeeper trying to please all sorts of customers in the mental speculator exchange. But the Lord is not like a shopkeeper trying to please all sorts of customers in the mental speculator exchange. The Lord is what he is, the absolute personality of Godhead, and he demands absolute surrender unto him only. The pure devotee, however, so that's the main point. The Lord is what he is, the absolute personality of Godhead, and he demands absolute surrender unto him only. This is Srimad Bhagavatam purport 2.4.21. He demands, so when the Lord, so we can have it in the mind that however the Lord is acting, whatever is happening in our life, Krishna is somehow or other trying to deepen our love for him. He's trying to bring out that exclusive surrender to him. And often when we engage in different kinds of services, we are doing service for Krishna, and we are engaging in different activities, and all of a sudden there's this anxiety that last minute something breaks, and we are thinking that, oh, how will I make the offering plate for Krishna? Or how will I do this for Krishna? And Krishna on purpose puts us in those situations of anxiety just to bring out that deeper emotion, just to bring out that exclusive surrender to Krishna. So again and again, whenever we are put in different situations, we can just think that Krishna is putting us in this situation to bring out that exclusive surrender, that when we come to the point where, and like things fail in this material world, even while doing seva, and we think that, oh, only Krishna can save me in this situation. Krishna, please help. Bringing out that exclusive mood to Krishna. And Krishna acts in such a way. Okay, so let's stop here. Are there any comments? Questions? Mahamaya potency. Yeah, Krishna covers us in Mahamaya.
Other point could be that since our soul is eternal, it's inside. So we are associating with that. So actually, soul is eternal.
So there are two points here. One is when the living entity wants to enjoy in this material world, and he's not on any spiritual journey, then he thinks that, oh yeah, let my enjoyment last forever. So that is So, yeah, like the mood of
Yeah.
eternality is there, but it is, not, that's not what the person is thinking. The conditioned jiva is just thinking, that let this happiness, let this vacation go forever. Right? But that is just the illusion of the living.
It's like a fairy tale where they say happy.
Happily ever after.
Happily ever after. How long is happily ever after?
Yeah.
50 years maybe.
Yes, yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Soulanja. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Enam Kanvandam Aravindanalayataksham Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Andani Asa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Vipan Vikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adipurusham
Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damana Vidana Amala Harina Mami Abhilasa Amala Harina Mi Abhilasa Amala Harina Mami Abhilasa Amala Harina Mami Abhilasa Vipinan Purandaran Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Subhasa Vibhinam Purandara Vina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Subhasa Vibhinam Purandara Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Subhasa Vibhinam Vamsivadana Subhasa Jajana Palana Surakula Nashana Jajana Palana Surakula Nashana Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Jajana Nanda Godana Rakulaya Nanda Godana Laya Nanda Godana Rakulaya Nanda Godana Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasana Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasana Hara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasana Hara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasana Hara Rasa Rasika Kripa Moya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara 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 Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Bhakati Vinoda Shraya
Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Yasomati Nandana Brajapara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajapara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Amala Harina Mami Avilasa Amala Harina Mami Amala Harina Mami Avilasa Mami Avilasa Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Navanita Taskara Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Bhakati Vinoda Shraya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Golokananda Radha Golokananda Radhe 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 Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Srila Prabhupada ki jai Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai. Lord Krishna is beloved son of Yashoda, transcendental lover in the land of Braj, the delight of Gokula, known by the nickname Kana, the wealth of the lives of the gopis, the attractor of Cupid, and punisher of the serpent Aliyah. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are full of sweet nectarian pastimes. Lord of the 12 forests of Braj, ever youthful, the best of lovers, player of the flute, an excellent dresser, protector of the inhabitants of Braj, destroyer of demonic dynasties, keeper and tender of Nanda's cows, giver of pleasure to cows, land, and spiritual senses,